Hello and welcome to this episode of Microchips, and possibly the biggest repair I've ever undertaken. So, what we have on the bench today is a mail-in repair from a customer, a Major M588, and the customer reports that there's no transmit, receive, sound. Basically it just lights up and does nothing. So we take the lid off and find a nice little note from the customer. Thank you, Michael. And a little £10 and his return address in there. So we've took the lid off and immediately we've noticed 3 of these potentiometers are knackered. So they're going to have to be replaced. The final output bias mod has not been done, so that's fine. C11's not been changed, so that's going to have to be changed. So, and this, some sort of high and low power. But apart from that, everything on this side of the radio looks okay. A little bit of leakage from this cap, but nothing to worry about. So let's fire it up and see what happens. And sure enough, it comes on, but that's about it. So let's have a look what our VCO is doing, see whether the radio thinks it's working. And the VCO's kind of doing something. And then the voltage looks kind of okay. So the radio possibly thinks it's doing something. So we'll check the 10240 just in case C11's dragging it down. 10240 is fine, but we're going to change C11 later anyway. So we're getting nothing, not even a squelch, pop or anything. Absolutely nothing. So let's try it on an external speaker. And again, absolutely nothing. No squelch, pop. So, looks like we're going to have to investigate a little bit further with this one. That's right, we have no transmit. Just absolutely nothing. Checked our 10240 again, just in case C11 had broke down, like on one of my previous videos. 10240 is fine. So we're going to have to investigate a little bit further. So let's take the top off. And what horrors have we got underneath this tape? Right, okay. Looks like it's a low band crystal. And the other side, that black wire, seems to be some form of high and low power bodge. Let's have a closer look at this. So yeah, it's a low band crystal. I suppose it would have worked. But for now, we need to try and get this radio working. So all these little bodges might have to come out. So let's carry on. With the visual inspection and these legs on the final output definitely look a bit how you're doing. They seem to be connected. And they don't seem to be moving, but we'll tidy that up later anyway. So let's have a visual inspection of the board, see if we can see anything. Yeah, and this is the other half of the power modification, the high and low power that drifts off to this. So who knows whether this is the problem or not. So we're going to have to carry on our investigation. So it looks like it's had a drop sometime in its life. And what do we see here? A crack running all the way down through the output stage. So I'm just checking around for other cracks, and I can't seem to find any other. Just seems to be this. So we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 8 or 9 traces we need to try and repair. So let's get those repaired. So I've scratched the copper back. Should we say we scratched the solder mask back to expose the copper, and I've soldered it up, and I put some 0.3mm copper wire from point to point as best as I could, just as an extra, you know, to help it. And just whilst I was filming this, I noticed that this maybe was a little bit close. So we'll just make sure it's just not touching. So we'll try again. I've still got no sound. But that crack can't have been helping. There's one thing I keep getting confused on this radio, is the PA on the squelch. I keep using that to turn it off. That kind of leads me up the garden path a few times. So, as I was messing about with the radio, this happened. And we got some form of transmit, and then it went and disappeared. Then that was it. This was when I was messing about with that low band switch. So I got a little glimmer of it working, and then it just went. And then we ended up with these random frequencies. And I couldn't get it back to showing or even giving us any output. Now you see there's first mistake, I've just put it into PA mode. Now I'm wondering why nothing will adjust, because it's now in PA. Silly me. And I'm still in PA mode, and I'm wondering why there's no voltage to the VCO, and I'm wondering why there's no voltage to the PLL. And I'm wondering why there's no 13.8 on the output transistor. Because, you silly boy, it's in PA mode. So I just wanted to verify that my meter was actually working. So we checked the main supply coming in, and yes, we have 13.8 volts as expected. So been led up the garden path on this one. So still scratching my head on this one as to think why we've got no voltage. And then the penny drops. We're in PA mode, and sure enough our voltages have now returned. So we've got 13.8 where there should be 13.8. We've got 5.2 on the VCO and on the PLL. So what is causing our problem? Why is this radio just transmitted for a couple of seconds and then dropped off? So we check the 10240 again, just in case it's C11 sending us up garden path, and it wasn't. But then as I was working on the radio, I pushed up against the mic plug, and this happened. We got sound. So it looks like it's a little bit of a dirty mic socket. So things are starting to improve. So let's see if it receives, and it actually receives. So the radio's definitely doing something more than it did. And the VCO voltage is back. So we're just going to have a look at the bias for the final output, because we've got something strange going on with transmit. Our bias is a bit low, but we can fix that. So on the scope, this is what was happening. You can see the actual RF carrier is bouncing up and down and all over the place. And this was showing up on the power meter as well. And what had happened is you'd go into transmit, and the power had come up really slowly. And then start bouncing all over the place like this. So again, another head scratcher. So what could be causing this? So I had another look around for any more broken tracks, and thought I saw something up on that earth connection, but it wasn't. Recheck the VCO again, just in case it was that, but it shouldn't have been. And then this happened. It started doing this. Power bouncing up and down, frequency going up and down. So there's definitely something going on with the VCO area on this. So with this radio, it's a case of find one fault and then move along to the next one. Your VCO voltage is now unsteady. So we've got a duff VCO. Has a VCO given up on us? So I found out what it was. This is the next day. I removed the low band, removed the high band, put it back to mid band, and it was the PLL that was at fault. And also I replaced these 3 VRs, and guess what? The power is stable. So it must have been the power adjustment VR, because it was actually open. It was causing strange issues with the transmit. So as you can see now, Mid-band and high-band back to stock, absolutely rock solid, no power bouncing over the place. And this is with a PLL replacement module fitted just temporarily. So, another fault fixed. Now bias, so we need to fix our bias. So we've done that. And now we're just going to bring it up to 0.7 of a volt. And then we can begin to see what else we can find wrong with it. So I've fitted a PLL replacement module in, one of my pick chips, and an MC145106P. We've changed the resistor in the loop filter. We've put an FM audio VCO in. And we've done the other parts for the FM audio. So now we're going to unlock the clarifier, which means we need to remove D7 and R23. So there's our D7 down there. And R23 just down there. We need to remove those, and we need to connect the unused leg of the clarifier to our 9 volts AVR voltage. And that should then allow the clarifier to work in transmit and receive. So out with the diode, out with the resistor. We can add that to the pile of bits we've removed from this radio. So I've just added a potentiometer to centralise the clarifier. So now you see this is on. So we get about 10 kcs out of this, roughly 9.5, 10 kcs. So with that little addition of the VR, we can send to the clarifier to 5. So there's mid band, we've got high band, and we've got UK40 with the clarifier all the way to the left. Brings it down just about right. So this radio is definitely on the mend now. So I was just doing more alignment, and I went to the SSB carrier balance, and the VR fell apart. So we're going to need to replace those, which we've done there. Now we can set our carrier balance. So after messing about with it for quite a while, over a few days, we've managed to get it working absolutely perfectly. So on this switch we've got UK40 from high band, that's our zeros, and that's our 10 kc for our alphas. And there's the repair I did on the underside again, with our 2 feed points off the AVR. We've also added some screws to the output heatsink as well to hold it in place. Might stop it cracking again. And this is the parts I've removed from this radio up to now. So VCO, PLL, crystal, load of broken pots, the big resistor, the FM audio parts. So after giving it a nice test this afternoon, got our European stations coming through nicely. Overall, it's actually turned out quite well now. So I'm going to test it over the next few days, and if all being well, we can return this to its rightful owner. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this repair. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.